All right, so we got here the Rolex Daytona.
Oh, yeah.
So there's been a thing going on in the watch world here in the last few years with the Rolex Daytona. It's been just astronomical as far as blowing up in price. Everybody wants it. It seems like the thing to get. What do you think about that?
You know, it's interesting. Maybe I'm not as old as I look or older than I look, but I started when I was 18 years old in 1987 at a Rolex store. And right away, 1988, they revamped the Daytona, went away from the Zenith movement, and they started, no, the other way around, went away from the, and so they picked up finally, it was automatic in 1988. It finally had a sapphire crystal. They really brought it into the modern age. And even working at a Rolex store then, we never had one in stock. It was always, take someone's name, put them on a list, call them several years later once one's available. And I don't think it's ever been off of that list system ever since then. So for 35 years, you haven't been able to just walk into a Rolex store and buy this watch.
Really?
Yeah, so I don't think they ever have made enough of them. And so my thought was always, hey, why don't they just increase production? If they've got this crazy demand for this watch, well, why wouldn't they just make more of them?
Yeah.
And we finally got a statement on that about a month ago from Rolex.
Yeah, and we talk about this stuff all day long, so it's like we all dug in and actually looked at the statement from, the Rolex CEO himself, and it doesn't correlate too well as to why they're not producing more, but they're choosing not to.
They said that if they were to increase production significantly, they would have to cut their quality, and they're never going to do that.
Yeah, and they don't sacrifice quality.
So I read that as they're never going to increase production, right? So that means that the current situation of there being a scarcity of this watch and very high demand for it, it's an extremely popular watch. Frankly, it's probably the best looking Rolex there is. Yeah. So everybody loves it. That demand's just not going to go away. People ask me if we think that the prices are going down. In 35 years, I've never seen the prices go down.
Really?
This is like the blue chip stock of the watch world. It is just up and up and up and up.
Interesting. So essentially, you think the popularity, though, for us acquiring it and the turnaround time as far as retailers and then us selling it, because no retailer in the world has it right now.
Right.
Like you said, for 35 years. But you think it's because of social media that it's really kind of like just exploded?
I would say that has a lot to do with it. Social media, in a way, has lent itself to marketing watches in ways that watch companies would have never been able to afford that kind of advertising saturation. So if you were to try to look for social media using some sort of tag like hashtag Rolex or hashtag Rolex Daytona, you would never get to the end of all the posts. And there's some beautiful photography out there of these watches. I mean, if you get started down that rabbit hole of looking on the Instagram feeds of this watch, there's some crazy cool pictures out there.
Gotcha. Interesting insight.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that have been seismically changed for forever by the internet and social media. Mm-hmm. So part of that great change was that now people can search. They can search on our site and they can find a watch that's otherwise been impossible to get, kind of a holy grail watch. Yeah. They're able to actually just order one up and click on overnight delivery and wear it tomorrow, which is just incredible.
That's what we offer, actually.
And it's for watches that previously you would have had to play the game and go on the list and buy all this extra jewelry you don't want from the jeweler to stay on their good list until your name comes up and once you're a VIP client. I love that we offer this ability for people to be able to just go ahead and get the watch at the fair market price.
Yeah. And right now, the market price is still going up.
It is.
I mean, the last year, it's really just skyrocketed. I remember whenever we were selling these pre-owned for the mid-20s, and people were freaking out about that. And then just all of a sudden, in the last 8 months, it's just been, skyrocketing. So one last quick question. Rolex has a trend of keeping a watch in production for about 10 years. And then 10 years, they change something. They update the movement. They come out with the new model.
Right.
Where these prices are at now, do you think they're going to change the Daytona in about 5 years or so?
I don't know. It was always easy before for me to see where they would go with the next Daytona because they had already kind of fallen behind some of their competitors by not using ceramic bezels. They clearly had new movements in the works. They have improved the bracelets and the clasps to the point that I don't know what you could do to this watch to make it any better. To me, it is a masterpiece the way it is. And that's one of the things that makes me think that as soon as they make a change to it, these are going to skyrocket because what happens is whenever there's something that people think that they've gotten just right, as soon as they make a change to it, they want what they can't get anymore. And they'll be saying, oh, back in the good old days when in
These were
2021,
available.
when you could get the ceramic one with the right movement and the right bracelet and the right clasp, those were the good old days. I don't know what they'll do next because I think the watch is just so perfect the way it is. I can't imagine, but then again, that's why they have R&D people who are a lot more creative than me, I'm sure.
That's true. And, we did just buy like a whole bunch of these for the Christmas season, that is. Doesn't mean that they're going to stick around that long, but still.
Yeah. A lot of our watches, the fact is, as we're posting them, we'll start on, they're posted on multiple websites, but as soon as we post it on one, it might already be sold before we even get the chance to put it everywhere. Some of them sell within 30 minutes of when we first handed it to the person whose job it is to post the watches.
That's exactly right.
Others we have for a few weeks or a few months. That's still really quick turnover in the jewelry industry. Traditional jewelers, they don't get concerned until something hasn't sold in 4 or 5 years. We never keep anything that long.
No.
It's almost all of our sales are within 2 to 3 months of when we post something. But a lot of these watches, it's a lot quicker.
Yeah, especially with the likes of these. These things, we're getting at least one phone call, I'd say, every day.
Yeah, and people call me and they'll say, hey, do you still have that Panda Daytona? And my first thought is, I don't know, because I haven't checked the website in the last 30 minutes, so we might or might not. So but the website is updated continuously all through the day. As we get new inventory, it's posted, and as we sell watches, they're removed. So if you see a watch that's active, if you see the price on it on our site, go ahead and jump on it. And as we say here in the South, jump on it with both feet because it might not stick around.
Yeah, definitely. So, we have the white dial ceramic black bezel. We have this full stainless steel bezel white dial, and we have the black dial all at SwissWatchExpo.com. So, like Mr. Cash here said, these are not going to stick around. So, we got a bunch in for the Christmas season. So, get yours at SwissWatchExpo.com.